I remember I had this client once I was working with, when I worked for an agency, and when I tell you, every time I met with her, she was just shaking, literally, like, she was, like, in a persistent state of, like, being on edge and fear and nervous, and we'd just be talking about anything, like, "How are you doing? How's your day?" And, like, she could not, uh, just be still in her body, like, she just had the shakes, and so I was just like, "Man, she's gone through some things, like, deeply." Like, it was a physical reaction that she had, not just emotional, not just mental, but, like, it was just, like, to see it, like, in the flesh, like, this person is not calm in her body. She cannot calm her body down to even just be able to have a conversation with me about, "How was your day?" "What did you eat today?" We're not even talking about any of the events necessarily that happened to her, and she was just, I don't know, on edge, essentially, all the time, every time I saw her. And maybe once I saw her that she wasn't like that, but it was just like, man, she's more in that depth of PTSD, right, where it's, like, persistent. Um, and so we want to, acknowledge, like, anything could be trauma. All of us have likely experienced something in our lives that we can deem as a traumatic event, but all of us aren't necessarily holding on to it, and some of us are healing from it or have healed from it. So we wanna be able to talk about, like, ways to get better and how we can actually start that work of healing trauma, because I do believe it can be healed. I think there are some things that, um, are more complex and difficult to heal from, but I think if nothing else, we can get better at it and not necessarily have the same reaction that we once had to this traumatic event. Even if it doesn't completely resolve or go away, I think that we can at least start to lessen some of those effects of trauma.
That's really good. Yeah, yeah. Getting unstuck is the goal,
Mhm.
because oftentimes that's what it is. Like our brain gets stuck, and we don't even know it's stuck, but and then it begins to change our personhood, to change the nature of. You talked about the feelings that can come, but I think one of the other symptoms is that it affects our thinking. Now I'm just a different person in how I think, which affects how I view life as well and how I view people. Now maybe people aren't safe. Cars aren't safe,
Right.
conversations aren't safe, relationships aren't safe. So, yeah.
And that can maybe be on a
Go on.
neurological level, like your brain gets rewired in such a way that it can
It
kind of
does.
be fixed for a long time into having this response and this reaction subconsciously, not necessarily on
It
purpose.
does.
Like I have this,
Yes.
I see a car, I freeze. I'm in a car, I might not be driving and I'm freezing up. And so it can get kind of, there's lots of studies about how it can even change your cellular structure, right? Um,
It does.
and so some of those things may not always be reversible completely, but you can learn how to manage and cope with the symptoms that present themselves in a healthier way. So
Yeah.
we want to, um, because we wanna be able to take our time with this, we wanna be able to come back with the part 2 on how to get better at healing from trauma. So we're gonna wrap up this segment, and then we're gonna come back for part 2 where we talk about what are some of the consequences we might experience, when we fail to seek help or work on getting better, and then we'll talk about how we can actually get better in some practical ways. So stay tuned. We're gonna be back again for part 2, but in the meantime, just continue to check in with yourself, and keep getting better so we can be better, so we can do better.